Thanks everybody for joining us on our webinar today. It's the first in the series of three that we're going to do. My name is Kevin Albrecht. I'm the Director of Sales at Shamrock Solutions. Victor, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Victor Mendoza. I'm a Principal Solution Architect at Thales, joining everybody out of Texas. I've been with the company for almost 2 years now, and happy to be here.
Appreciate it. Yeah, so as I mentioned, this is a webinar of three different series that we're going to do and explore the vital security and compliance strategies for today's digital landscape. So we're going to be really showcasing perspectives from experts, as you can see from our agenda here, but across all three of these webinars, really providing a technical peek at the powerful technology solutions that Shamrock and Thales bring together. I also want to put in a quick plug before we dive into this that check out our registration page. We're doing a giveaway associated with this series. So by signing up and participating, you're going to have a chance to win an iPad. So taking a look at the agenda today, it's Shamrock and Thales we're really teaming up to tackle those complexities of digital security and compliance. We're going to be sharing essential insights through real world cases. Victor's got a ton of great information that's really going to help you better navigate the challenges, the challenging seas of today's technological environment. So you may notice kind of a nautical theme as we go through this, and that's why. So yeah, we'll get going. And Victor, if you want to really kind of take us through what you're seeing as the digital threat landscape out there.
Sure thing. Thank you, Kevin. And I kind of want to have a little fun with this a little bit. So I kind of want to have everybody just imagine for a second, right? Just think about that cyberspace. It's like the open ocean, right? It is vast and largely unexplored. And there are many dangers lurking not only above, but also beneath the surface. And as the captain of our ships, or even a member of the crew, right, we need to be aware of the risks that we face in these open waters. We also need to understand what are some most critical assets on board our ship and what data privacy and laws and compliance mandates we need to follow if we plan to collect, store, process, share, or even sell customer data in certain parts of the world. Because in these waters, there are pirates looking to steal our most precious treasures. They're looking to infiltrate. They're looking to disrupt their operations, or even looking to infect our systems and applications, among other things that could harm our ship and business. So how bad is it at sea? If you look at the first data point here, right, just this past July in 2023, there were 87 publicly disclosed security incidents, which accounted for over 146 million compromised records. Now, this, for those that have been following, is a significant increase from the previous month, where there were only 70 publicly disclosed incidents. And in the month of August, there was about 73 disclosed security incidents. So there's a trend that we kind of keep seeing here. Now, do you want to guess what was the most common type of incident? Well, if you guessed that if it was a data breach, then you are correct. And a data breach is really just a result of the exposure of personal information, such as names, addresses, phone numbers, date of birth, social security numbers, healthcare records, or even intellectual property. Now, we also see that the global cybersecurity incidents have increased by over 38% across industries from 2022 all the way to 2021. And this trend is likely to continue as a lot of business and individuals continue to increase and be more reliant on the technology that we use today. Now, we see a lot of healthcare, financial services, education, government sectors, which are all particularly vulnerable to ongoing cyber attacks. And if we look at the last data point here on the left, right, in Verizon's DBIR, which is the data breach investigation report of 2020, and even if you look at the latest report in 2023, the majority of the breaches were financially motivated. Now, this means that the attackers were primarily interested in stealing money or the data that could be sold for profits. One example of that is ransomware. With ransomware, the attacker is looking to encrypt the victim's data while also demanding a ransom for payment in order to decrypt it. And so this is very common that we're starting to see in cyberspace. And on the right, we can also see, the cyber attack incidents are costing companies more than 4 times that they were 10 years ago. And, these are pretty substantial losses. And the average cost of one of these data breaches is now over $4 million, which we're going to learn more about in the next slide. Now, this cost, includes not just the loss of the data, but also the cost of notifying the infected individuals, be able to recover, and even the loss of business that we lost during the time of the incidents. So hopefully these statistics are starting to paint a picture of the open oceans and the state of the cybersecurity that we face today. Now, just kind of continue with the theme, right? Now, imagine that the captain or his crew members decide to set sail, right, without a map or a compass. Now, most likely, they're probably going to get lost or maybe never find their way back. So similarly, businesses that do not comply with different data privacy laws and regulations, they're really setting themselves up for failure, which could, lead to major financial losses. And to kind of drive this home, being non-compliant with the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, can lead to some pretty severe fines, often costing higher education institutions on average $3.7 million as of 2023. Now, for those that don't know or not familiar with the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, it's really just a federal law that protects the privacy of financial information held by financial institutions, including banks, credit unions, insurance companies, and even higher education institutes. But not only do we need to be compliant to avoid being fined, we also need to make sure that we limit the frequency and impact that these data breaches have on our business. Because the average cost of a data breach across all sectors in 2023 is now at an all-time high of 4.45 million, at least according to IBM's 2023 cost of data breach report. And as I mentioned previously in the last slide, right, this cost is really not only about the loss of your data, but also the cost of notifying your customers, the individuals, being able to repair, and just be able to recover. Now, on the right, we can see that healthcare and higher education are particularly vulnerable to data breaches, as they hold some of the most sensitive personal information about their customers and students, because this information can be used to not only identify theft, fraud, and other crimes. And so, therefore, it's really essential for a lot of higher education institutions to maintain this GLBA compliance to protect not only the security, but also the privacy of their customers and students. Now, on this pie graph over here on the right, it kind of shows us a breakdown of some of the data breaches and cyber attacks by sector. And the top two here, we have the healthcare sector, which accounted for most of the cybersecurity incidents, followed by education. And when we put this combined, that makes up about 45% of all incidents, at least for Q1 of this year.
Hey, Victor, and can I, one of the things I think when we talk, especially in the education space about security, it's not just University of Michigan or Ohio State or UCLA, that the big institutions that are at risk, right? It's everything from a community college to a regional private school or liberal arts organization in the foothills of Appalachia, right? Every organization is a target for this, regardless of their size. Exactly.
Right. These cyber criminals do not discriminate, right? They're going after everybody. In this slide, we have two very notable incidents. The first here on the left, is from a very popular IT tool that's called MoveIt. And it was developed by this company called Progress Software. Now, if you've been following the news, you probably heard of it. And so in this tool, there was an older version which had this web-based SQL injection vulnerability that if you were able to exploit it, the threat actor could possibly view any sensitive information. They could even steal the sensitive information. Or what we started to see is that they started to deploy ransomware against their data. In SQL injection, if you've been around the space for a while, it's nothing new. In fact, SQL injection is just an old common web-based attack that just uses malicious SQL code to kind of access some of this information. And so while many U.S. public and private sectors organizations were impacted, it also impacted a lot of U.S. colleges and universities, exposing millions of student records, which we'll see here on the top right. One of those organizations that was impacted by this MoveIt IT tool was Colorado Department of Higher Education, which affected approximately students all the way going back to 2004 all the way to 2020. And then the last thing we have in the slide is that at the bottom, we see that there's this timeline that kind of shows us this average total time it takes to identify and handle an incident. And the time between when the breach occurs on the far left to the time it is identified, this is something that we call the dwell time. What we kind of see here is that many times, we're so focused on prevention that we kind of forget about the detection controls. On this graph, we show that there's over 200 days that it takes to identify an incident. for a lot of organizations, it's probably less than this, but on average, is over 200. And many times, right, we're not the ones to identify this incident. Many times we get notified by external parties that, hey, there's probably something wrong. We noticed some activity. We point it back to your company. And as many times, that's how we find out about it. So, yeah, I mean, I would just add here, I'm not sure if you have anything else to add, Kevin, but I mean, when I see this, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, one of the things when we look at, again, in that higher ed space, that they're doing it, I think they're realizing more and more that security is the utmost important thing, and it's really the core pillar of every project they're doing. And in fact, a lot of universities even have dedicated strategic IT plans. Number one on there usually is security, right? So when people are looking at their technology options or priorities, at their place of higher education, really making sure that they're taking security into consideration as they move forward. So yeah, I appreciate all that information, Victor, and that's a great thing. I'm really excited about Shamrock getting together with Thales, and I think it's a great relationship. That we're really, as you had said, right, we're navigating those tumultuous waters of cybersecurity. That really can feel overwhelming, especially in the light of recent, surge and you talked about data breaches, all the different vulnerabilities that are out there. That's really why we've teamed up, right, for this critical webinar series, so we can bring together Shamrock, right, our years of expertise in the process excellence, document management, process automation, with Thales's in-depth knowledge of security and compliance. So really our united front becomes, provides this comprehensive set of tools and insights that are really, designed for your digital landscape. So I think, with us, again, going back to your theme, right, for being the navigational guides, people can really not only weather that storm, but of course, set a course for enduring security and operational success.
For those who are not aware of Thales, we really try to push the innovation envelope, with the different suite of cybersecurity technologies that we try to kind of remove a lot of the complexity to try to secure, our customers' data. We try to help them accelerate time to compliance and also help them, secure their cloud migration. As we see here, in this little wheel of fortune on the left, we can see that Thales is able to discover your data. We're able to discover your secrets. We can protect your data wherever it resides, whether that's on the move, whether it's at rest, while it's being processed. And we can even essentially manage your keys and even access management controls. And we try to bring this all together under a single platform that we call the CipherTrust Data Security Platform. The CipherTrust Data Security Platform really provides a unified approach to help organizations simplify, their data security across a broad set of use cases, really help secure the digital transformation. And kind of like I mentioned earlier, right, really help them accelerate their time to compliance. Before we set sail, or maybe we left the dock already, right? We need a map that shows us some practice security measures that we can take to make sure that we are safe out at sea. Now, the first here in this list, right, even before running a vulnerability scan, I want to say is that the first thing you want to do is to really understand what business are you in. Because once you understand your business, you can really understand what data is most critical to you and also which compliant mandates you need to comply. And then from there, we need to do a full-blown asset inventory of all of our systems and applications. And once we have an inventory of all of our assets, we can start to scan them. But many times when we do this full-blown asset inventory, we might end up with tens or even hundreds of thousands of systems and applications. So the question really is, where do we start? Now, I usually like to start by focusing on all the systems and applications that are really exposed to the internet, because usually these are the assets that have the highest risk to your organization. Now, once we identify, what are these assets that are external, that are external to the internet, that's when we can start to scan these systems. We can start to patch them and make sure they are up to date. And because the second way threat actors are getting in is not just through exploiting vulnerabilities, but they're also stealing credentials or trying to, perform all these different social engineering attacks. We want to make sure that for any system that's exposed to the internet, we want to make sure that we enable multi-factor authentication. And then from there, right, we can start to scan our systems and applications to see if they're collecting, storing, or processing any type of critical data. And if we discover that they are, then this is where we need to protect, control, and limit access to that data. And then from there, we can kind of do some of the basics of making sure that we log, we're detecting, we're responding, we're able to recover from any cyber incidents. Security awareness, with all of our staff and crew members, we want to make sure we do audit reporting. In the last year, we want to make sure that we have an incident response plan for sure.
Yeah, well, and that's, I get a great point too, Victor, is that people who are watching this, and whether they're on live with us now or down the road, they don't have to figure this all out on their own, I think. And that's kind of why I think I'm excited about this partnership and us joining together is really helping our customers and our clients again, navigate these waters, find out where they're vulnerable, what they need, with their networks and their content repositories and their processes. That's really exciting. So yeah, I'm here to kind of talk about this was the first of, as we said, the series of upcoming webinars. We're really going to be diving into looking more into security. And so, yeah, want to check out on September 28th and on October 12th. We're going to go more into real world security challenges and the solutions. So on the 28th, we're going to look at the perspectives and insights from some customers, some experts in the industry in a roundtable panel discussion format. So rather than just listen to Victor and me go on and on, really kind of hear it straight from the people who are on the front lines. So then on October 12th, join us on our Under the Hood deep dive, where we're going to share a more technical look at just how powerful these security solutions can be. Again, when you go to the registration page, as I talked about in the beginning, we're doing a giveaway. So we're giving away an iPad based on people signing up and engaging with the webinar. And so I think that's a real neat opportunity for people to get a little something back for participating. So yeah, if we have any questions or anything, Jordan.
Yeah, looks like we did have a few come in here. This first one here seems to be related to higher ed. So in higher education, how do you see the role of data encryption and key management evolving within remote learning environments?
We saw this with COVID, right? When COVID took place, right, everybody kind of went to work from home. And so all these security controls that we had, defense and death, right, within our organization kind of went away, right? Because now we have all their employees kind of working from home and very little security controls in place to try to protect the data that they're trying to access and manage for us. And so one approach that we take with higher education is to try to centralize all their data into some sort of cloud services and then try to protect it there and then apply access controls to make sure that we limit access who's able to, check in and check out data from there. So that way we're not having students, hold data within their laptops, which, probably doesn't have a lot of security controls. We want to make sure that we centralize all that data in a secure place. And most of the time we've seen, cloud storage services being used in these cases.
Okay, perfect. Second one here, what are some of the top security challenges that higher ed faces when complying with some of those federal regulations like FERPA or HIPAA? And I think some of the question here is really, what are some of those challenges and issues with actually making sure that we're applying to those federal regulations?
Yeah, I'd say the challenge is, it's really balancing that need for open and collaborative environments alongside with the needs for security, right? That they're really wanting to have both. But then also, there's the financial and the resource limitations that really can then make that difficult to implement the robust security measures that are required. So I think, the key really is staying current with the federal and state regulations that are changing all the time. That in itself can be a challenge, and why it's key to engage with professionals that really understand how what is required and how that fits in with kind of the mission of your organization.
Okay, perfect. And we've got one more here, I think is probably in your wheelhouse, Victor. Can you please talk about how some of your solutions integrate with existing security protocols and infrastructure? Are there maybe any specific benefits to that particular approach that we can walk through?
Yeah, so so our Cyber Trust platform, right? A lot of things that you can do through the UI are REST-based. So you can hit the API. So a lot of our customers integrate our solutions through their REST-based architecture. And then we also support KMIP protocol. So a lot of times customers already have their databases, and a lot of these enterprises databases are already doing the encryption, but they need a place to store that key, which is not with the encrypted data. And so a lot of times they use our platforms to store the key, and they leverage common protocols such as KMIP, key management interoperable protocol, and we use those to kind of integrate with their customers and their applications and systems.
I mean, it looks like all the questions we have today. Kevin, you want to bring us home here?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, no, I just wanted to thank Victor and and everybody for attending. We have our contact information on there. If you have any follow-up questions, you want to reach out to one of us specifically. Again, even if you're watching this live or down the road, scan the QR code there with your phone, and you can sign up for the webinar series. So looking forward to people tuning back in as we dive more into the tumultuous waters of security.